Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining today's program. My name is Janet Griffin, and I am the Director of Alumni Relations at NYU Myers. And on behalf of the entire Myers Alumni Association, I want to thank you for joining us for this very special program. The Alumni Association represents nearly 16,000 alumni all over the world, and they hold positions of leadership in the profession, practicing in very diverse clinical, academic, and administrative settings. So wherever you go, you're going to find some Myers nurses that are committed to making the world a better place. Tonight, we're actually going to focus on our graduates of the Nursing Administration program, and we have students, alumni, and faculty that are all with us this evening. They will be sharing their experiences in this program and the different career opportunities that have opened to them as a result of obtaining this degree. Professor Eloise Cathcart will be giving an overview of the Nursing Administration program, and Austin Simon, who is our Graduate Admissions Director, will share information about the admissions process. So we actually have a very special guest with us tonight. We're going to kick off the entire program with Dr. Deborah Albert. She is the Senior Vice President of Patient Care Services and Chief Nursing Officer at NYU Langone Health, and she is going to share her thoughts on nurse leadership.
But they will come in with certain conditions. They will,
Hi.
Yeah, but IV, you come in for IV, they'll give that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll give them the IV.
I think, does somebody need to go on mute?
Yeah, they're on mute.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us. I really want to say thank you to the Alumni Association putting this on, for the invite to come and speak to you all today. Obviously, this program and all of your interest in it is just so exciting to me, because I think that our organization and our profession benefit from programs like this one in particular in so many different ways. But as I thought about what I might say to you all today, I really thought about the role of a nurse leader. And I would say the role of a nurse leader at any level, because we all know that nurse leaders are present at every piece of our profession, at every point of care, and throughout all levels. So regardless of your job title, there is a nurse leader in all of us. But formal nurse leader roles, what is it really that we do, and what is it that we bring to the organization and to the profession? A couple of key roles really jump out at me. And first is providing and communicating a vision for the profession and the practice in whatever setting you are leading in. Obviously, a key component of that is ensuring patient outcomes, optimal patient outcomes. And we do that by providing a safe and rewarding environment for our nurses to work in. Advocating for our nurses and patients is another key role that we play. And when we advocate for our nurses, we advocate for resources, be that people, education, equipment, work processes, collaboration, etc. But we advocate for all of those things that our nurses need to be successful, because our nurses' success is our patient's success. And then, of course, we ensure that nursing and the nursing organization is aligned with the broader organizational mission, vision, and goals. So when I think about this past year and all that it's brought to our profession, I have to say that I think that now is a really amazing, unique time for nursing leaders across the country, and whatever setting that we practice in, be that in acute settings, ambulatory settings, public health settings. This past year of COVID really forced us to rethink and evolve so much of what we do. I think it forced us to think all of our preconceived notions and our legacy processes, methods, and assumptions. I know myself, and I'm sure all of you in your work, we really saw nurses every day evolving their practice and continuing to respond to the evolving pandemic and all that we were learning. And so our role as leaders was often to give voice to that, provide the space for that innovation, and really allow our nurses to shine and do what it is that they do best. I think also, though, this past year really demonstrated for all of us across this country the basic inequities that we have in our healthcare, both in access to healthcare, and then even once in the system, differences in patient outcomes for many years and systemic reasons, really. I think also we have to acknowledge that this past year not only stressed the healthcare system at large and really laid bare the opportunities and gaps in our system, but clearly it has exhausted our patient care staff, most in particular our nurses. So when I think about nursing leadership as you are considering entering this program, I think it's an exciting time for nurse leaders, again, at all levels, because this is now almost a reset button in so many ways for us as we hopefully are coming out of the pandemic. But with all of the changes and the gaps in our healthcare system that have really come to the forefront, now I think is an amazing opportunity for nurse leaders to really step forward. Again, I think about our role and our possibilities in advocacy, both for public health and policy changes so that we can address access to care, health equity outcomes. I think also about our ability to advocate, affect, design emergency preparedness at a population health level so that we don't have the same missteps maybe and opportunities in early response to the pandemic. I think also within our organizations, we can continue to advocate and lead efforts for continuous preparedness and really resiliency and some redundancy in our systems so that when we get thrown a curveball like this past year was, we have the ability and the sustainability in our systems to be able to survive and thrive in that setting. I would tell you to think about a formal education in nursing leadership, regardless of where you are on your experience spectrum, whether you're a new nurse or an experienced nurse, I think that going through the formal education process really just matures your thinking. And I know for myself, just gave me new ways to look at issues and processes that I had lived through, experienced, but it gave me a new lens from which to approach all of that work. And so that I know my work and my career have really benefited from formal education programs like this one. And so I'm so excited that you're all contemplating this, and I really look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Albert, for your very inspiring words. I would like to now introduce Professor Eloise Cathcart, who is the director of the Nursing Administration Master's Program at NYU Myers. Her clinical scholarship is focused on leadership development and in particular, how nurse managers become expert leaders. She's going to share an overview of the Nursing Administration Program.
Thank you, Janet. And hello, everyone. I wish I could see you all, and I wish we were sitting in one of the big rooms at the college, but not just yet. So I'm coming to you from a room in my home, which has been the official classroom for the Nursing Administration Program for the past year, but we are doing just great. And I'm here tonight with some of my favorite humans, some people of whom I am so very proud. And they're going to tell you much more interesting material than I am. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our program. I first want to thank our newest Chief Nursing Officer on the scene, Dr. Deborah Albert, who is our official partner in the NYU system. And it is such a joy to have her. She's in our classroom. She's at our functions. It's really wonderful to have you here, Deb.
Thank you.
I also want to acknowledge tonight, because I see her screen, Dr. Maria Vizina, who is another wonderful friend of our program and who is a preceptor to our students, and who I know I will get her new role wrong, but the title of her new role wrong. But Maria was, until very recently, the Chief Nursing Officer of Mount Sinai Morningside, and she has just moved into the Mount Sinai system as a Senior Vice President for Nursing Practice and lots of other things, which I'm not remembering. So Maria, you can help me.
Well, oh, thank you, Eloise. You're doing great.
But I want to tell you now a little bit about our program. And our nursing administration program is really designed to prepare students to begin several different leadership roles in complex contemporary organizations, and they indeed are complex, as you all well know. So you might be interested in being a nurse manager, eventually a director, eventually a chief nursing officer, eventually a system chief nurse executive. Or you might be interested in a role as a quality manager, focusing on patient experience or focusing on managing nursing finance and resources, all important roles that intersect between practice and the hospital's financial and public mission. And very fortunately, we have alumni of our program who inhabit all of these different roles, and they're here tonight to talk to you about their own experience. Or you might already have a master's degree in another nursing specialty and be interested in seeking an advanced certificate in nursing administration. We have students who do that as well. So Dr. Albert made the point that leadership is a unique practice which requires preparation. So in our program, we start there by talking about what it means to have a practice, what is a practice, and how to lead a practice. And the work of leadership is always about change. When you are a leader, you are always expected to make it better. And change happens when people are inspired by their leader and trust that following him or her to a new place, which might not feel so comfortable, will make them a better person and a better nurse. So in our program, we focus a lot on relational work, which is the core of leadership practice and the vehicle by which the leader gets to good outcome. We also talk a lot about building trust, because if people don't trust you, they're not going to follow you anywhere. So we talk about what it means and how you can go about doing that. We also talk about the importance of skilled ethical comportment, because your comportment, how you are in the world, is always your most important leadership tool. People will look at leaders and follow them because they want to be like them. So it's really about understanding your values that make you the person and the nurse that you are, and understanding how you live out those values. And we talk also about the ethical use of power, because leaders are always trying their hardest to do the right and good thing for patients and families, for clinical nurses, for colleagues, and for the broader community. We also think about the role of the leader in shaping policy at a unit level, an organizational level, or a national level through national nursing organizations. Now, you will notice that I said the program prepares students to begin a leadership practice, because that is my fundamental belief, that we learn to be expert from our practice. So when you leave us at the college, you are ready to begin your work as a nurse leader. And we also talk about that. How do you begin that process? Where do you put yourself so that your practice can grow and flourish? How do you make those choices about determining where you will practice? So a very important part of our program are our preceptors. Students spend a full year, 1 day a week for a full year, 2 academic semesters in clinical practicums. And our preceptors are truly wonderful. They are so committed to our students. You're going to hear more about that. And what happens is, after the first theory course, after I get to know the new students really well, I really have, and I think everyone will agree with me, I have a really good record of pairing people up with preceptors who are just a really good fit for them. And our preceptors are nurse managers, they're nursing directors, they're chief nursing officers. You're going to hear about some of that later from some of our graduates and some of our current students. We also bring our nurse leaders into the classroom. We just finished in our Theory 3 course having a series of master classes with chief nursing officers and nurse executives, and that was so much fun. It was just so great. And I can't say enough good things about our partners, because preparing people, preparing students for leadership roles is really one of those things that takes a village. But our master's programs are really structured this way. They start with a broad base of research, statistics, programs about population-focused care and issues and trends in contemporary leadership. And then our program begins to go up that pyramid to a broad course on leadership, informatics, finance, quality improvement. So you will get a lot of that substance, which is probably what many people think they're coming to learn in a nursing administration program. So you will learn all of that. You will also learn about yourself and how to utilize yourself as a leader. There are 3 nursing administration theory courses, 1, 2, 3. They start in the spring, and then the fall, and then the spring. And then the last 2 theory courses have practicum courses attached to them. Now, this is all much more than you're going to be able to remember, because even new students get very confused about this. But the point that you should take is there is a path. It does work. And by the time you finish this program, you will be ready. And, every year, just about this time, maybe about a few weeks ago, it has never failed. I can see our students morphing, transforming into leaders. They just have a different presence. They have a different way. They have a different way of holding themselves, of thinking about their work, a real readiness to go out and make a difference. I have been a nurse executive for a very long time. I was a clinical nurse specialist. I started my practice that way. I was a director of nursing at Boston Children's Hospital, a chief nursing officer at a wonderful community hospital in Portland, Maine. I was also the chief operating officer of the National League for Nursing, the chief executive officer of the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. I've done a lot of executive coaching, a lot of executive consultation, and have been at the college now for about 14 years. And so and every year I say, okay, this should be my last year, but then I get hooked on a group of students, and here I still am. So I am so happy that you're with us tonight, and we want to tell you everything, but mostly we want to try to convince you that our practice is just the best. Our practice as nurse executives, nurse leaders is just the best. So thanks for coming, and I will be happy to answer any question that you might have.
Hi, in total, how long is the program?
It depends on whether you do it full-time, which people rarely do, or part-time. And if you do it part-time, you can finish in about 3 years at the outer end. If you take courses in the summer and during the time between semesters, you can sometimes speed it up. And our program has 9 credits of electives. I encourage students to take those electives in other schools in the university, either the Wagner School, which at NYU is where health policy and healthcare administration is taught. So lots of students will take electives there. More recently, students have been taking electives at the Global School of Public Health and really enjoying them. We also have the Stern School of Business, which has opportunities for electives. So it depends on if you want to go really fast or a little bit slower. and slower is about 3 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor Cathcart. I want to go ahead and move into the panel portion of the evening. Like I mentioned, we have several alumni and students that are here from this program that are going to share their experience of what's happened at NYU. So our first panelist is Alexis Birkenau, and she graduated from the nursing administration program in 2020. She's a nurse manager at the NYU Perlmutter Cancer Center, where she manages 4 office practices, including neurology, gynecology, hematology, and gastrointestinal oncology. Marissa DeFilippis is a current student in the nursing administration program, and she is the nurse manager of a 27-bed orthopedic telemetry unit at NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital. Jennifer Caro is also a current student in the program, and after holding several positions in pediatric and neonatal ICUs, she is now the clinical program manager for pediatric safety and quality at Mount Sinai Hospital. Renee Sanchez graduated from the nursing administration program in 2013, and she is currently the clinical nurse manager of the Crown Family Pediatric Center at Lenox Hill Hospital. She is also a member and actually the chair of the Nursing Administration Alumni Advisory Council, and she's also a member of the NYU Myers Alumni Association Board. Kirsty Toussaint graduated from the nursing administration program in 2011. She is the senior director for nursing operations and service excellence at NYU Langone, Long Island, and a doctoral student at the Fox School of Business at Temple University, where she is studying business administration, management, and operations. Kirsty is also a member of the Nursing Administration Alumni Advisory Council. And finally, our moderator for tonight is Stephen Tyler, and he graduated from the program in 2015 and also holds a doctorate of nursing program from Yale School of Nursing. He currently serves as a nurse administrator at New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Medical Center, and he previously served in emergency department nursing leadership positions at Maimonides Medical Center and Bronx Lebanon Hospital Center. I'm going to turn everything over to Stephen to moderate the panel this evening. If you have any questions during the session, you can enter them in the chat, and at the end, we'll get to as many questions as we can at the conclusion. Okay, thanks.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm very excited to have you all here tonight. On behalf of the Nursing Administration Alumni Advisory Council, I would like to welcome you to the program. A few alumni of the program, in particular Renee Sanchez, had a vision to develop a platform to stay connected after graduation. Professor Eloise Cathcart, the Nursing Administration Program Director, supported our vision. We all began meeting with Janet Griffin, Director of Alumni Relations at Myers, to bring this council to life. The aim of the council is to keep alumni connected to the college and to each other for the purposes of sharing, refining, and extending our individual leadership practices. We host several events each year to connect with Myers alumni in various leadership positions and support the program and current students. As alumni, we are grateful for the leadership environment that continues in our lives, as well as the leadership development as a result of our nursing administration degrees, and we are excited to share how this experience has influenced our careers. Before we get started, we're just going to ask a couple poll questions just to get a little feel for the audience tonight.
Just a moment.
So what is your current nursing role? Are you practicing as a registered nurse? Are you in a nurse leader role? Are you in administrative nursing? So maybe something quality, informatics, patient experience, a lot of different other roles or other.
Okay, I think we're about there. I'm going to share the results.
So 56% are practicing as a registered nurse, 26% are currently in nurse leader roles, 6% are in the other administrative nursing roles, and 4 people or 12% said other. Okay, and one more question. What brings you here with us tonight? So options for this will be, you're planning to apply to an MS in Nursing Admin program in fall of 2021? Perhaps you want to learn more about advanced certificates at NYU, or you're a nursing administration alumni, or here to support this amazing program in Eloise.
Okay.
All right, and we have a mix here. So 32% or 12 people are looking to apply in fall of 2021 to a nursing admin program. 26% or 10 want to learn more about other advanced certificates. And we have a lot of supporters here. 9 people or 24% know how good this program is and are here to support the wonderful work that we all do. Great. Okay. So we're going to get started with our first moderated question for tonight. And that is, how did you decide to pursue the nursing administration degree? I am a 2015 alumni, so I'll start with this question. And for me, I started my career in an ER, and I had an amazing director of nursing. She was a role model to me. She was everything that you can ask for, in your leader. She was innovative, approachable, personable, and really inspired the team to strive for excellence. I trusted her. However, about a year in as a new nurse, she left, and I was devastated. And she was replaced, and the new person was the complete opposite of my original director. So this really made me quickly realize and understand nursing leadership's impact, both from a negative and from a positive. And I immediately knew I wanted to be a leader and inspire change for the positive. And Eloise, I don't know if you remember this, but I actually called you when I was contemplating applying, and you stirred me in the right direction. So here we are. All right, so I'm going to take this off to Kirsty next to answer. How did you decide to pursue the nursing administration degree?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to be on this panel. I chose the nursing administration program because I actually was an assistant nurse manager at the time. I applied for a position, and I was put into the role and quickly realized I had no clue about what I was doing and realized that I needed more training. And so when I was looking at programs and looking for programs where I would learn about nursing administration, I knew that I did not want to do an online program. Obviously, I live here in New York City. I didn't want to be online. I wanted to be in the classroom. I wanted to be with my classmates. That's how I learned best. And so I really looked in New York City for a program. I also knew that I liked business, and I wanted to be able to take classes, not just in the nursing administration program, but at a business school. And NYU had the Stern School of Business, as well as at the time was the Roy Myers College of Nursing. And so I made my decision. Both programs were really good. Both colleges were really good. So that's how I made my decision. I made my decision because of the nursing program and the fact that I can take electives at a business school that was also reputable.
Great, thank you, Kirsty. And Marissa.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for attending this event tonight. So I actually attended Rory Myers as an undergraduate, and I graduated in 2013. And at the time, I had been accepted to a dual degree program in midwifery. And however, as I worked at the bedside, my career took a much different path, and I became a nurse manager at NYU Langone Orthopedic Hospital. And once I entered this role, I really wanted to be able to learn the complexities of it and the intricacies of the role, and wanted to elevate my practice and my role through a nursing administration graduate degree.
All right, next I would like to hear from Alexa. Thank you, Marissa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining as well tonight. I have a similar experience to Stephen. I started my career as a clinical nurse at NYP Queens, and then a little after moved to NYU in pediatrics, where I had an amazing nurse manager who also was very present, a great leader. She really inspired everyone, and we all moved with her in the direction that she wanted to go. She became a mentor to me as I started to learn more about her role in general, and kind of what she does on a deeper level day to day. And then as I was a clinical nurse there and saw how she implemented change and things like that, I decided to pursue nursing administration and ended up choosing NYU. I still, even though I'm a nurse manager today, I still really enjoy being a clinical nurse and doing hands-on things with patients. And that was something that she also did with, she would support at the bedside with staff. So I like the ability to do both.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing, Alexa. Jennifer is another current student.
Hi. Yeah, so my path to here started actually, I thought that I was going to be a nurse practitioner. I am a pediatric nurse. I've been in critical care from when I graduated with my BSN, and I thought I was going to be a pediatric palliative care nurse. So NYU was always something that a school that I had, I guess, when I decided to go back, it didn't seem like there was any other options. I don't know how else to say that. It seemed like it was the natural choice. I had a lot of friends who have gone through NYU and really loved it and continue to love it. And you can see that there's the alumni association that I know a lot of friends that have been pulled back in and stay there. So that was kind of a natural choice. But I initially came in as under the NP program with a specialty in palliative care. And I was pulled from the bedside to do quality work. I was asked to be the clinical program manager, the first one that the area of the hospital that I'm in had. And so once I started in that role, I quickly realized, like everybody else was talking here, that I didn't need more pathophysiology. I needed to understand how to influence people, how to gain people's trust, how to understand the quality work that I'm doing on a more fundamental level and on a more theoretical level, so that I would be more as prepared as I could to be, as impactful as I could be in my role. And so I moved over to administration, and I've never regretted it.
And you're almost done. And Renee Sanchez, who's a 2013 grad and the founder of our Alumni Council. Renee, share with us how you got into nursing administration.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm very honored to be on this panel. Thank you for organizing this, Stephen. I think this is great. I, similarly to Jennifer, was actually in the pediatric nurse practitioner program at NYU. By trade, my background is primarily in pediatric ICU, pediatric transport. I have worked as a manager in labor and delivery, and also worked in NICU, and currently in pediatric as a nurse manager at the moment. But when I was going to pursue my master's, I knew I always wanted to get my master's in nursing. I was primarily working as a pediatric ICU nurse, and the natural progression was to go either one of two ways, as a nurse practitioner or go back to anesthesia school when you're in the ICU setting. So enrolled at NYU in the pediatric nurse practitioner program. I started classes, and I just was really drawn to, inspiring and leading other nurses in the profession, because I was a charge nurse, I was a preceptor, I was a mentor, and we were able to take an elective, and I ended up taking a leadership elective that Eloise taught. And Professor Cathcart, she listened to me speak in class, and everything I talked about was so passionate around nursing leadership and development that, she basically convinced me to apply to pursue my dream to become a leader in nursing. And I switched programs, and I was in the nursing administration program, and I haven't regretted it ever since. And it's just really, really helped my career progression and really got me to where I am today as a nurse leader. So I haven't looked back, and I've been so grateful for my education, and highly, highly recommend this program.
Wow, that was powerful. Thank you for sharing, Renee. We're gonna go on to our next question. So how now did you decide that Myers was the right fit for you? And I'm gonna ask this question to Renee first.
So for me, similarly to like what Christy mentioned before, I just like the fact that we could go in person to class. I really enjoy sitting with people, socializing, and just sitting in the environment. I understand because of COVID right now, we're not able to do that. However, the hybrid model seems to be very effective as well. But I did really love that option, that it wasn't just strictly virtual. So you were able to build those relationship skills that you need as a leader, and you have to do that in the classroom. And I like that Myers offered that for this program in particularly. And I know we're going to get back to that.
Thank you. And then I also would like to hear from Marissa, who's a current student, to get maybe a different perspective, maybe the same.
Sure. So I knew the high quality of NYU programs for my undergraduate degree. So when I was looking to go back to school, I reached out to colleagues who I looked to as mentors that had also graduated from the program, and kind of validated what I had an idea of already, of how wonderful the program is. And what I appreciated was the size of the classes and the cohorts, because you really get to not only learn from Professor Cathcart, but also learn a lot from each other. And I really appreciated that. And another big factor for me was the clinical experience, which I think we'll touch upon, in the panel later on. But when you think about the health systems and the prominent nursing leaders that we have access to through this program, it's just amazing. It's mind-blowing that I get to go each week to clinical with a CNO of a major hospital and sit with her in her office one-on-one and learn from her. I just feel like incredibly lucky every week. And so those were some of the main things I was looking at. And I did also, to echo Renee and Kirsty, want in-person classes. But with COVID, I have appreciated that we've been able to still capture some of that intimate in-person feeling through Zoom with our groups.
Very nice. Thank you, Marissa. All right, so we're gonna make sure everyone's still paying attention, and we're gonna ask another poll question, which is, how do you learn best? In-person classroom, online, virtual, hands-on in the clinical setting, or anything works for me? And the secret is this program is a little bit of everything, so. Okay, so hands-on in the clinical setting, 42%, or 14 people, and anything works for me, 36%. Very nice. Okay. All right, so clinical placement and preceptorship sounds pretty exciting, so let's go with that next. Jennifer, do you want to tell us more about your clinical placement?
Sure. I was placed with Natalia Sinius. She is the Chief Nursing Executive for Health and Hospital System, New York City Health and Hospitals. And I'm in a private hospital where I work, and this was a completely different experience that I was opened up to. The public healthcare system, the public hospital system, and this is the largest public hospital system in the country. So I just really appreciated being able to go through it and see it through someone's eyes, the eyes of somebody who had a vision for what the hospital system would look like, what nursing would look like, and who's been in there for now it's her third year, who has really been able to kind of take me on that journey with them and make me understand how to build not just your own nursing practice, but to build the nursing practice of a 9,000 nurse cohort, and the structures that were built around that, and the different processes that need to be put in place, and just the way that you have to be with people in order to be able to affect that kind of change and affect that kind of influence. So I've been really grateful to be able to be there and to have our capstones. We really do get to be an integral part in what the organization is doing, and this is a really great time to be able to do that because of the BSN in 10 bill that was put into law a couple of years ago, and just being able to be a part of how the public healthcare system is moving, nursing education and bringing everybody up. So I've just been very grateful to be able to witness that and be a part of it.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing preceptor. I don't think you can, well, you might be able to top it, but I mean, she's pretty high up there. So you must have had an amazing experience.
It's a good person to have as a role model, I think.
For sure. What about you, Marissa?
So my preceptor is Dr. Roseanne Razzo, and she's the Chief Nursing Officer at New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell. And I've gotten to see so many amazing things this year. They transitioned to a new electronic medical record to Epic, and I drove into the city at 4 a.m. on Go Live night to meet Roseanne, and spent the early morning hours with her, going through the hospital, seeing the hospital through a major change. And it's something I'll never forget. It was like chill inducing to be able to be there with her through that, and some other major changes in a post-pandemic, or still in a pandemic, but post first surge time, and how she's moving the organization through these challenging times and continuing to lead her staff with grace and relatability. And Professor Cathcart said she does a really good job at matching us, and she really does. She knows what our strengths are and where our interests lie, and I really enjoy writing. And Dr. Razzo is the editor of Nursing Management. So to be able to experience her in that role and be a part of that with her has been a really rewarding experience for me, and has inspired me to see where I would like to be in my future.
Thank you. Another very cool clinical preceptor relationship there. Kirsty, what about you?
So my preceptor, my clinical placement experience was a little bit different. And I think this is where there's benefit to knowing that while Professor Cathcart is really good at placements, sometimes the experience in the clinical area doesn't always work out exactly how you planned. And mine was kind of like that. But, I never really saw it as a negative. It really was always a positive, because remember, learning experiences can run the gamut of highs, lows, different things like that. So my experience while I was in a program in my clinical placement had some challenges, but it's something I never forget because you learn what to do, you learn what not to do, and you take all of those experiences and you're able to put it in context with what you're learning in the classroom and compare and contrast and think about from a leadership perspective what you want your own leadership practice to look like. So the clinical placement for me, you know, like I said, like it didn't go exactly as planned, but it was still, there was still a lot of upside to it.
I really appreciate your honesty. And I mean, I think we can all relate to that, even just as a bedside nurse and maybe not being with a preceptor that's a good match. But, you know, you have to always see what you can take from the experience. So I appreciate, you know, your honesty. Renee and Alexa had a unique experience. Do you guys want to share that?
Sure. Alexa was actually one of my students. So we had an amazing experience together at Lenox Hill. And we're still very, very close, and we still talk quite often, almost like every other day. I feel like we're texting. So Alexa, I don't know, do you want to talk about it a little?
Sure. So Renee, even though she's currently at Lenox Hill Hospital, she actually used to work in my previous unit where I worked, which was a pediatric unit. So I had kind of known about Renee before Renee received me as her preceptee. So Renee and I were with each other for the year. It was great because I got to see, she was the nurse manager of a smaller pediatric unit, but I was able to see, how she leads her unit and how they do things differently. And she was a great help with my capstone. I got really involved with her staff, which was great. And I really got to know them personally and kind of figure out what the needs of the unit were, which helped me evolve my capstone, which got a little derailed with COVID, but it still worked out well. And then, Renee and I think of Renee as a mentor to me. I will bounce things off of her, get her opinion. And we even have fun. We're in a Peloton group together and we ride. So it worked out really well. I think it was a great pairing by Eloise.
Yes, definitely. It was a great experience. I mean, it's not only as a clinical placement, like you make relationships and that turn into friendships. And I think, in nursing leadership, it is a very small community. If you think about it, you think it's actually going to be a large community, but it's really small. So you stay connected. And I don't know, I've been precepting ever since I graduated in 2013. I've always had a student with me every year preceding that. So, and I've stayed very close and very connected to all of them. And I'm very proud of all of their achievements that they have accomplished. And it's nice. So yeah, Alexa and I, we're really close still. So you do have that relational and that relationship bonding that you get with your preceptors in your clinical placements.
Thank you both for sharing. Kirsty, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, but I mean, you always, even when during my classes, you came and spoke, and you've always been a role model to me. Can you also just describe, how it's been for you being a preceptor?
It's been really humbling because when you're a preceptor, you have to sort of pause a little bit. When you know what you're doing, you just kind of do it. But when you're a preceptor, it really takes it really requires, as a leader, as a preceptor, it requires me to pause and think about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And also it requires me to really think about my experience in my clinical experience, what that was like for me, and the kind of experience I want to create for the student I'm working with. So I'm really intentional about it. I know that the preceptors that I'm familiar with are also very intentional about how they work with their student, the kind of discussions that they have, intentionally making time to sit and work with them, one-on-one. So I think a lot of that comes from the fact that a number of us came through the program and were taught by Eloise Cathcart, and she talked a lot about comportment and being intentional about the practice. And so I was able to really weave what I learned in the program into what I do and the work and how I work with the students that I'm assigned to.
Thank you, Kirsty. There's actually a question for you as well, but we'll save that for the Q&A. So hang tight there. All right, so we're gonna ask another poll question. And this is, are you concerned about juggling school with other life responsibilities? Maybe work, family, pets, etc. So 16 or 57% are very concerned, 25% or 7 are just a little concerned, and 18% or 5% said, no, I've got this. But that's a little skewed because I pressed that one, so. So people are a little concerned. All right, so I think it'll be great to spend a little bit of time, hearing how some of the alumni have balanced, work with school. So we're going to do a two-part with this. The first part will be, how do we balance this during COVID in the middle of a pandemic? So I want to hear from Jen and Marissa, two current students, to talk about that. Jen, maybe you can start.
Sure. So because I'm a step removed from the bedside at this point, I'm there as a support for the nurse managers and the nurses. I was not allowed to stay remote. So I remained, the 10-hour work day, 5 days a week, going in. And I think that, and Marissa may end up saying kind of the same thing as me. It felt like class was the one thing that grounded me. There was the one thing that was still there. It may not have been me going, into the subway to go to class every day. But actually, gratefully, it didn't mean me having to go into the subway every day. I was able to do it at home. So there was a little bit of a silver lining in terms of that, just because it was exhausting for a little while there, I think. So I think that if anything, it made the work that we had to do in the pandemic more manageable. And you definitely had people that you'd be able to bounce bounce off of what was going on in your own institution, how the leadership was handling it, and talk about what was really going well, and talk about things that you wish maybe was being done differently, and use each other as support in that way. So that was enormously helpful, and I think that it would have been a lot harder if we didn't have each other and we didn't have that class.
Yeah, Jen, I'd echo everything you just said. I found that when the world and everything around me was turning upside down last spring, school and class was the one constant that really grounded me and kept me sane. And being able to come together with my classmates and friends that I had gotten to know over the last few semesters, and be able to share experiences and learn through them how they were managing in that time was really invaluable. And I can't tell you how many times people had said to me, maybe you should take a semester off. There's so much going on. You're converting your unit to a COVID unit. And I just really firmly believe the fact that I continued through the program through that got me through it and helped me lead my team better.
Thank you, Marissa. And before we knew about COVID, Kirsty, tell us about your experience with juggling work, life, and everything else going on.
So at the time that I enrolled in the program, I had 3 small children and was working full-time. I enrolled when I was a nurse. I applied to the program and enrolled when I was as an assistant nurse manager. But by the time I started the program, I had been promoted to nurse manager. So I was now a brand new nurse manager, working full-time, which, as you know, when you're in a leadership position, especially when you're new on a very busy unit, it's never really a 9 to 5. You know, it's really, you know, multiple days working, very long, intense days, plus 3 small children at home. And after the second year, I kept the guilt was starting to overtake me. The guilt of not feeling, and probably many of you on the discussion would, you know, recognize the guilt of not feeling like I was really doing a great job in anything, school, home, or work, kind of got to me. And I remember going to Professor Cathcart and saying, I'm quitting. So I tried to quit the program, guys. And I remember it was the end of the spring semester, and I told her, you know, perhaps I just can't do this. And this is the power of having someone in your corner, and having a program like this where people are, the advisors and everyone is invested in your success, and will find a way to help you through the program and make sure that you learn and that you graduate. I went to her and I told her I was going to quit. I couldn't do it. And she said, okay. She really never listened to me. She said, okay, why don't you just, she tricked me, I think. She said, why don't you just enroll in the fall? You're going to be off in the summer, and you take some time off in the summer. But of course, lo and behold, the fall came, and she proceeded as if nothing happened. And I said, wait, I thought I quit in the spring, but here I am now. And Professor Cathcart was just always in my corner. She had faith that I was going to be able to figure out a way. I'd come that far to get through the program and still learn and still come out on top. And so it was a challenge, definitely a challenge, but it's a program that understands that there are other demands in everyone's lives and in life, and makes room and helps us make room to succeed.
Thank you, Kirsty. It doesn't get any realer than that. All right, so we have one final poll question. How do you envision this degree changing your career? It will prepare me to advance my career. It is a requirement for my current position. This will be a step along the way to a DMP PhD or other. All right, so 82% or 23 people said that this degree will prepare them to advance their career. It's not a requirement for anyone's current position. And two people say that it is a step along the way to a terminal degree. And 3 people said other. Okay, so how has your degree prepared you for leadership in this profession? Let's start with Renee.
I would say it's prepared me significantly. It's really helped me understand how to really inspire and motivate others. I think that's the goal is in leadership is it's really about the patient at the end of the day. But in order to get positive patient outcomes, you have to make sure nurses feel supported and they feel safe and they have the resources they need and they feel inspired to provide care to patients. So this program has really helped really understand the fundamentals around leadership and understanding what it takes to really motivate, inspire others to help develop them so that they can achieve positive patient outcomes for the community that we serve.
Thank you, Renee. And there's also some, like segue questions for this. So talk about the great things you do and how you have been recognized in your institution currently or maybe in the past. Anybody?
we talked about this in class last night about owning the things that you've accomplished, and it's something that's really hard for many of us, but this program has really taught me to be proud of the work that I've done, and I've taken steps that I never thought were possible. In the last year, I published an article, I did a podium presentation, and that's something that, you know, I will ever be indebted to Professor Cathcart and the program for really pushing me to take these leaps. And to kind of touch on the first question, if you don't mind, I just wanted to say, not to scare anyone, but I was in my nurse manager role for a year before I began the program, and the program really made my job, I felt like it made my job harder, but not in a bad way. I felt like I was good at these task-oriented job responsibilities, but it really helped me see the larger purpose of the role and the complexity of the role. And now I feel I'm able to do so much more because of this program.
Thank you, Marissa. I think I relate very well to you. I was very young, 25 when I was finishing up my degree, and I was actually transitioning into a manager role in my last semester. And I don't know what I would have done without Eloise and coming to class every week. You know, the class is big on reflection, so I would come every week and, you know, talk about the past week, what I thought went well, what didn't go well, how I reacted to different things. And yeah, I had a lot of work that I had to do for myself. And, you know, she really prepared me and gave me the skill set that I needed to mature in my role in leadership. Does anyone else want to share how the degree prepared you? Alexa?
Sure. So I started my degree actually when I was still a clinical nurse, and I think that it gave me a lot of leadership qualities. I was a preceptor and a charge nurse, and it gave me a different lens to think about from a clinical nurse perspective, even though I had the goal in mind to take on a formal leadership role in the future. In the last year of my degree, I did end up taking a formal role as an assistant nurse manager. And I think that helped me grow in that role as well. I got to look at it definitely from a different lens as a formal leader versus a clinical nurse. The reflection is something, as Stephen said, that I really enjoyed in the program. And I still use in my practice today. I think, you know, it's important to look back on the things that you've done or events or situations you've encountered and think about what you did well in them and things that you could improve for the next time. You know, being a nurse leader is not always an easy job. I find it very rewarding, but there's always improvements to be made. And one of the biggest things I think in my role is, you know, supporting my staff and really listening to them to see what their needs are and what they need to do great patient care to achieve good outcomes, and trying to get them the resources and the supplies and the processes in order for them to achieve that.
Thank you, Alexa. And before we wrap up, I really just want to, you know, reiterate and emphasize that another thing that's unique about this program is when you finish, you're not out on your own. Eloise is with you for the rest of your life. So, I mean, I call her up all the time. I text her. I know everyone else does. And you don't just have your cohort, you have all of the past cohorts to bounce ideas off of. Once you graduate and, you know, as you're even a current student, you're part of the council, and you're always part of that council after you've, you know, been a part of the program. So you have tons of access to a lot of different brains to pick, whether it's Kirsty's, Renee's, all the other amazing alumni that, you know, attend our events regularly. All right, so next we are gonna go over to, I'm gonna introduce you to Austin Simon, who is the Associate Director of Graduate Admission. He's going to give you a brief overview of the admissions process. And then after that, we'll go on to the question and Q&A session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Stephen. I appreciate it. And what a great panel. And I think that segues really well into what I'm going to talk about today. So just a few quick important admissions points that I wanted to discuss. First, about admissions eligibility. So who should be applying to the nursing administration program? First, what we're looking for is a bachelor's degree in nursing or a bachelor's degree in a non-nursing field with the associate's degree in nursing. So what that means is if you have an associate's degree in nursing and say a BA in psychology, then you are 100% able to apply. So BSN or an associate's degree in nursing with a BA or a BS in another field. Next, the GPA. The admissions committee is really looking for a minimum GPA of a 3.0, but that being said, if you have under a 3.0, we do not want to discourage you from applying at this time. If your grades fall under that mark, we ask you to address it in your personal statement. Maybe talk about what classes were difficult for you, what classes were really great experience for you, etc. And we find that addressing those concerns and the academic history head on is the best way to go. In addition to that, eligibility-wise, we need a New York State nursing license on file prior to beginning coursework. That being said, if you're coming from out of state and you're an RN in, say, Connecticut, on the application itself, feel free to show us the Connecticut license, but we will then need the New York license before you start classes if you are admitted and decide to enroll. Next, we have 1 year of full-time clinical experience as an RN as a requirement. And we do get a lot of questions about this. Say, I have 8 months of experience at the time of application. Am I allowed to apply? The answer is yes, yes, yes. So as long as we're close to that year mark around when the program would be starting, that is what we're looking for. So if you're applying now in April and you have 7 months of experience, 8 months of experience, you're looking good, you can continue on with the application. In addition to that, we ask that you have a basic statistics or research course on file at the undergraduate level on your transcript when applying. Our admissions committee is going to look for that stats and research course, and that is a really important piece going into those core classes in the program. So that was kind of for the Masters of Science. Again, we need that bachelor's degree on file, but for the advanced certificate, as Eloise mentioned before, that we do have some people in this program coming in as an advanced certificate student. All the requirements are the same, and in addition to that, we will just need that master's degree in nursing as well. One moment. I lost my notes, hold on, sorry. There we go. So in addition to eligibility, I want to address too the application process as well. In the year 2021, we no longer have paper applications. We are fully online at nursing.nyu.edu. Again, you could easily find our application by Googling NYU Myers application online or emailing me, and I'm going to put my name in the chat after if you have any questions specifically about admissions. So in addition to finding it at the website nursing.nyu.edu, we ask that you have a personal statement, your current resume on file, as I mentioned before, that New York State nursing license and registration, 2 letters of recommendation, the $80 application fee, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, and in addition to that, unofficial post-secondary transcripts from all institutions attended since you went to high school. So if you got your BA in psychology first, and then you came back for an accelerated BSN program, we are going to need both transcripts, for example. So it's just not that BSN, it's just not that most recent transcript, it's everything you have. That being said, with the pandemic and everything going on in this world, we are gladly accepting unofficial documents for review. So if you have a PDF file of your transcript, if you have a picture of your transcript, we can use that for review purposes. And if need be, we can get those official documents if you are admitted and decide to enroll for the program. So kind of to wrap things up, my last piece that I wanted to address was tips for the application. First, I wanted to talk about the letter of recommendation. It's a super important part of the application, both for you as the person who's submitting it, but also the people who are reviewing your application. And the letter of rec is a really great opportunity for a professional who knows you well to speak to your strengths. And I really wanted to highlight when I say knows you well there. Our admissions committee, when we are reviewing these applications, they can easily tell who knows you really well and who might not know you so well. So we want those people to be able to not only to speak to your successes as a professional, but your potential for success in the program. These should be typed on letterhead. These should be written by masters and or doctorally prepared individuals. But again, that one line I want to drive home is people that know you well. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about who to ask, who you want to write these letters, and how they're going to speak to you and your success at the graduate level. My last tip here is about the personal statement. The personal statement is a really good opportunity to give an honest representation of who you are as an individual and why you want to join our college. Again, we don't necessarily care so much why you might be a good fit for one of our competitors in the 5 boroughs or elsewhere. We want to know specifically why NYU Myers. Why NYU Myers, why the nursing administration program, and why now? So the best way to get that answer is to do your research. And the first step is to come to this event. So check that off, that's a great start. What did you learn in this panel today that helps align you well with this program? What did you read on our website that you really liked? Have you talked with Professor Cathcart about this program and what makes you a good fit? So those specific details about why NYU and why NYU Myers are a really great start to a strong application. So this statement should really be a reflection of both your written aptitude and match for the program. So my 2 tips here, coming back to letters of rec of people who know you well, and in addition to that, why are you a good match, not only for the program, but for NYU Myers generally. So that's my little admissions rundown here. And if you are still on the call, we thank you. And with that, as a thanks, the office will be giving everybody a application fee waiver for the application for fall 2021, which is really exciting. You do not have to pay the $80 fee for the application. The instructions I'm going to put in the chat, I'm also going to verbalize them now. But what you have to do is start an application, then email me. I will go in and waive your fee and you'll no longer be prompted for payment. And this has to be done prior to you submitting the application. So that's the only catch. You have to do it after you start the application, but before you hit submit. So again, I'm going to type up these instructions during the Q&A so you can see. And I appreciate you guys coming to this presentation. And please do not hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have any questions about the application. My final point, we still have time for fall 2021. So if you're on this call today, fall 2021 is in your purview. This is a definite possibility for you to still apply, start an application with a final deadline of June 15th. Deadline's not tomorrow. It's definitely not 6 months away, but you do have some time to start and submit this application. So I hope to see everyone's application soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Austin, for that great information about the application process. So we've left some time here at the end for questions for our panelists. And that can be for any of our alumni, our students, for Austin, who is our admissions director. I'm also going to spotlight Eloise Cathcart, who is the program director. And we do have a few questions in the chat, so I'm going to start with those first. Feel free, again, if you have more questions, type them into the chat. Or if you feel comfortable with it, you can also unmute yourself and ask a question as well. So we've had a couple of questions about the business aspect of this degree. So the first one that we've gotten was, as from the business administration aspect, what courses are offered? You mentioned there were electives at Stern, and is there any guidance in selecting these courses? This person's interest is in particular in business administration training and development as it relates to healthcare and specifically nursing.
So why don't I start, and then I'm going to ask Kirsty to jump in because that is something that she's very interested in. So there is a major foundational course in financial management, and it's linked with quality improvement. And if you want more, that would be a really good way to use your electives. And you can do, as I said earlier, your electives either at the Wagner School, which have courses that are about the business aspect of healthcare or financial management of healthcare organizations. The Stern School has similar courses, as does the Global School of Public Health. That's something we would talk about. And if you were particularly interested in that, I would lead you into those directions. What else can I say about that? Remember also that you're going to learn a tremendous amount in your practicum. And so if this were a role that you were really interested in, I might ask Kirsty to be your preceptor. So those are things that we work out as the program goes along. And I just want to add something to what Austin said. I like to meet applicants to the program. So I generally will invite you to, well, I used to say come in and have a cup of coffee with me, but we can't really do that right now, hopefully soon. But I want to know about you. I want to know why you're interested in being a nurse leader. And is it because you feel so strongly about nursing practice that you want to be in a position to make it better? Or is it because you frankly have had enough of nursing practice and you want a way to escape? And I would tell you that if your answer is the first, this is the program for you. But if the answer is the second, and that's okay if that's how you feel, this isn't the right program for you. So we can have those kinds of conversations, and you can tell me what you're particularly interested in, and I can help you figure out how you can use the resources, both of the entire university and of our own talented group of preceptors, guest faculty, to meet your goals. But let me ask Kirsty to respond to that, because that is an area of practice that she has very successfully moved into.
So I mentioned to you that I applied to the program because of the Stern School of Business and because of the proximity to the College of Nursing. When I applied to the program, I actually had applied to the dual degree program. It's the MS and MHA, Master of Health Administration. I don't know if they're still offering that now, but I recall applying to that. But then when I started the program, I realized the credits were too much. I wouldn't be able to do the dual degree program. And so I instead opted or looked to see if I can take my electives in the Stern School of Business or like a population health type course. And so I think between Professor Cathcart and I, we kind of created that pathway. No one prior to me exploring that avenue had done that before. And so I can't really speak to how easy it is now, but at the time we did have to create some new relationships in the Stern School of Business. And I was able to take 2 of my electives in that school. And it was a really great way for me to balance my interest in healthcare administration, nursing administration, and as well as business. And I remember just simply taking 2 courses. I think one was organizational development, and I believe the other one was women in leadership or women in business leadership or something like that. And it was really, really interesting. And since then, I believe a few other students afterwards have been able to take courses in that college as well.
So Kirsty, sorry, you might want to talk just a tiny bit about your current position and how you have moved into the work that you're doing now.
So since graduating from the program, I've taken on various leadership roles, and currently I am the Senior Director for Nursing Operations and Service Excellence for NYU Langone and Long Island. And to me, I really, really enjoy my role. It's actually quite new in the sense that I recently took on the responsibilities of Service Excellence. And I really believe strongly that the reason it was created specifically for me, it wasn't something that was vacated, it was created. And I think one of the reasons why I was able to have this opportunity was because of my education and my background coming through the nursing administration program. And specifically, learning under the tutelage of Professor Cathcart. We all call ourselves Cathcartians. Because there's a certain way that you learn in the program, and there's a certain way you think about leadership. And there's a clear distinction between your leadership practice and management. and both have their place, but you can't have one without the other. And I do firmly believe that my opportunities that I now have in front of me in my current role, being responsible for nursing operations, which is overseeing nursing finance, and the business aspects of nursing at the campus, as well as service excellence, which is grounded in leadership and what it means to be a leader and grounded in leading the culture of an organization. Those that I wouldn't have that opportunity without being in a program. So I think there's a direct correlation between the two.
Thanks, Kirsty. And again, Kirsty has actually put her email in the chat. She is happy to follow up with anybody who's got questions, especially she's got a very specific career path that she has taken with the business administration side of nursing. So feel free to follow up with Kirsty. Next question. This is probably for everybody, but specifically our current students. What would you say is the time commitment each week for the program?
I think it ebbs and flows. There are certain times when you are working, or I'll just speak for myself. There are certain times where I had to basically tell, my husband, I can't see you or my child for 2 days because I have to do research for 20 hours. But that's just the way that I am. I like to do it all and dig deep for long periods of time. And then emerge with what I have. But I do know that other people are very good at coming home and then doing, an hour or two every night and being able to handle it that way. So I think that it is very personal, but sometimes there are weeks where it's 2 hours, 3 hours, you're reading articles. You may not have a big paper. You're reading the articles on the subway or something, so it's something you can do on your commute. But then there are some chunks of time where you're going to want to do the best that you can, and so you're going to work with the resources that you have around you and really dig in and really learn as much as you can about something that you're really passionate about. So the time kind of goes somewhere, so it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, and we've had class this semester on Tuesdays from 4:30 to 8:30, so that in addition to some of the schoolwork that we're doing, we do have class. And then our clinic, when you're towards the end of your program, the clinical hours, and I'm a nurse manager with a Monday through Friday schedule, so I had to really want this because I was using a lot of my PTO for clinicals, and I found that it really didn't matter to me. I just really enjoyed going to clinicals each week, and I can take vacation later.
Great. Next question what would you say are the biggest misconceptions students have when entering the program?
Biggest misconceptions. Well, this is one of the reasons why I like to meet applicants individually, because it's a chance for you and me to talk about, much like we're doing tonight, what the program is, what kind of roles are available to you, who are the broad resources, because nobody does. I do not do this program alone or teach this program alone. Far from it. I really make sure that everything is going forward. I do a lot of the teaching, which I absolutely love. But you met Deb Albert, you met these wonderful people who are sitting in front of you. Maria Vizina, who's on our call tonight. These are all great people, very accomplished and successful leaders who participate both in the classroom and in the clinical, and are very, very generous with their time and are always available to students. So I think that people who think they're coming to learn things like how to do budgets and how to do time schedules, you will learn those things, but that's not the focus, because being a leader is really about you. And it's about knowing how to use your own talents to inspire other people to change and move an organization forward. So I think that is probably a misconception. You know, we don't, how can I say this? It used to be more common, but still happens that people are asked to take on leadership roles without appropriate preparation. I don't know how people do that with great success. And we see that some people really struggle and have a hard time because organizations now and healthcare is just too complex. But our practice is one of the few practices that doesn't require a certification before you begin an advanced practice role. So if you're a nurse practitioner and you go to graduate school, you have to be certified as a nurse practitioner before you can start practicing. That's not true for nurse administrative positions. So I think that therefore it's hard for everyone or generally for people to appreciate that there is a very specific leadership practice for which we all have to be prepared. And that may be a misconception too, to not really understand that you have to learn how to be a leader. Some of us have talents in that way. Some of you have talents in that area, but you really have to learn how to find your place in an organization, how to negotiate, how to work with all kinds of people, how to build and sustain and nourish those relationships, even with people that you might not like. So these are a lot of the things that we talk about because they're really important and they really are the core of leadership. You know, no one's going to hire you into a leadership role to say, keep everything the same. Don't change a thing. That's not going to happen. So when you take on a leadership role, someone is going to expect you to move that agenda forward, make it better, keep things going in a direction. And with all the complexities in healthcare now, you know, as Deb Albert said, the pandemic has really laid bare some of the strengths, but also a lot of the weaknesses of our healthcare system. And so to think about now as we start rebuilding our healthcare structure, both in the community, our public health system, and in hospitals, and all of the complexities around that, that is work for which one needs to be prepared. And that's the kind of education that you get.
We've got time for probably one last question. And this was something that was brought up because I think a couple of our panelists tonight actually transferred from one master's program to another. So we actually have a question about how complicated that process is. You know, what is the path? If you're in another master's program, what is that pathway to switching into the nursing administration program?
I can answer because I switched out of the nurse practitioner program for pediatrics, and it wasn't complicated at all. Honestly, it was very easy. I just sat down with the program director from the pediatric nurse practitioner program and explained, you know, what my passion was and what I discovered by taking the elective with Professor Cathcart in leadership. And she listened to what I had to say, and we just put the paperwork in and I transferred. It wasn't anything daunting. It wasn't anything hard to do. I feel that NYU is very supportive and encouraging and wants you to succeed in any program that you are passionate about. So it wasn't at all hard to do it.
Yeah, as Renee says, we want you to be in the right place. We want the fit to be right for you. And so it happens that people think they want one thing, and then as they get immersed in study, get immersed in the culture of graduate study, their interest goes off in a different direction. Or as Renee did, you know, you'll take a course with someone and find, I kind of like that. And I think I'd like to work with that person. And so that's perfectly fine. You know, my colleagues and I are always open to that. And we work together to make that process very easy for you. And so, as Renee is saying, you would, of course, let the person whose program you're in know of your decision, but then you would come and talk to me and tell me why it is that you feel you want to make this switch. Again, I'm always looking for rightness of fit. I want you to feel that this is the right program for you. And if that happens, it's just, as Renee says, a matter of filling out some forms, and we'll facilitate all of that for you. And there you are. And a lot of the electives, like you might have taken courses in your nurse practitioner program, let's say, we use those for your elective courses so that as much as we can, so that that's not time wasted, if you think of it that way.
Great. Thank you so much to everybody. This was a great panel, to our students, to our alums, Professor Cathcart, to Austin, to our CNOs that joined us tonight. We really appreciate you supporting the program so much. And to our other alums who are there with us tonight, thank you again to everybody who attended. And I think at this point, most of our panelists have put their email in the chat. So I'm gonna, before I completely shut it down, I'm gonna leave this open for a few minutes if you need to go through and copy and paste these emails out into another place that you can find them easily. And again, just another reminder, as Austin mentioned, for everybody that has attended the program tonight, your application fee will be waived for the fall of 2021. The application deadline is June 15th, which is about 2 months, which is plenty of time to get your application in. If you have questions, Austin is more than happy to answer questions. Professor Cathcart will answer your questions, and I really encourage you to connect with one or both of these individuals. They're happy to answer anything that you can think of that did not get covered tonight. So anyways, I want to go ahead and sign off. I will be sending you a follow-up email with some of this information in it as well. Again, we appreciate all of you, and we really do hope that we see you on campus in the fall. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.